Sup, y'all? I'm your host, Taylor Onion, and this is Hang Time, where we focus on amplifying the stories of women in sports. We are back this week with one of the co-founders of Playmakers Nashville, which is a membership-based community dedicated to igniting the power of women in sports. We're here with Erin, Ryder. MMA Bradley, the other co-founder, had some technical difficulties, so she was not able to join us for the full interview. But Erin, welcome. Let's get some hang time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
So Playmakers Nashville is the latest project that y'all have been working on. You both have careers outside of Playmakers that I would like for you to share a little bit about. Again, so working in those other capacities, I would love to start in that space and hear just a little bit about kind of what has led you to this career in sports, your interest in sports, all the things, and then we'll jump into Playmakers from there.
Love that. Well, we're excited to be here. I started my career, like a lot of women in sports, as an athlete. I played D3 field hockey, won a national championship with my amazing SUNY Cortland field hockey team, and had an awesome professor that encouraged me to get my master's degree in television. And so I studied television production and was able to start my career at NBC Olympics. I learned some incredible storytelling and used that throughout my career at ESPN, Travel Channel, Discovery Channel, Amazon Prime Video, more recently working on Thursday Night Football. And for me, I love building and telling stories about amazing athletes, especially female athletes. I started a production company to support female athletes. And when I had the chance to move to Nashville and meet MMA Bradley, my career really was taking a shift. I was trying to figure out what to do. I actually taught last year at Belmont University in sport administration, and more recently started Playmakers because there was a need for that.
We were talking about Belmont a little bit offline, but I didn't get the chance to tell you that was one of two grad programs that I was looking at coming out of my undergrad. So it was Belmont's sport management program. And then the program which I ended up going with, which was the University of Illinois, stayed after my undergrad and finished that. But Belmont's been kind of a through line. I feel like I keep meeting people who are affiliated with the program throughout my career.
Absolutely. Well, I love that because I am so I encourage people to go before I even started teaching there, but it is an incredible program. It is one of many now that supports a degree in sport management or sport administration in undergraduate and graduate. And I can't say enough about people that are trying to figure things out, right? Go and get that education, spend the money, invest in yourself. It's so worth it to build your network and build on your experience. And I love my time there.
I love it. Fantastic. So you touched on so many other things that you've done, the production company, NBC Olympics, and then obviously now the last year with Belmont. But how have those things, those other roles, and maybe specifically your time in television and with Amazon Prime and Thursday Night Football, how have those influenced the way that you show up and the things that you're planning and creating with Playmakers in Nashville?
Sure. Yeah, I think navigating a career as a woman, never really having a female mentor has all led me to wanting to build something different. You know, Playmakers, the intention behind it was a nonprofit organization that could elevate women who work in sports and support those who want to and aspire to work in sports. And I think for us, we sought it ourselves and then thought, gosh, the lasting impact we could give would be to make it easier for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And that means creating opportunities where there were none, supporting women when they didn't feel like they had that kind of support. Working in sports is not for the faint of heart, right? Sometimes it's 24/7, 365, nights, weekends, holidays. And I think for women, especially women who want a family or have a family, that can be really difficult. And we wanted to say, hey, let us support you. Let us help you when times are tough, when you're looking for that job, looking for that promotion, or just getting your foot in the door.
There's so much data and so much research on this idea of like sense of belonging, right? And not just exclusive to women in sports. I think it's across the board. Like, what does it mean to be able to create a community where people want to be, where they feel like they belong, all the things. We know how important that is for women in sports in particular because of all the things that you just mentioned. So I think it's fantastic what y'all are building there. It's been fun to watch from afar, certainly in the last year. And I'm excited to see what's ahead as well. And I should have really started here, but for those who haven't heard of Playmakers, I gave a very brief introduction, but I would love to hear how you're describing it as you're sharing with women who are interested in membership or even corporate partners. What is Playmakers?
Yeah. Playmakers Nashville is a 501c3 nonprofit membership collective for women who work in sports and for those young women who aspire to work in sports. We really are an organization that's community-based. Exactly what you said. We need community more than ever. And I think men have sort of always had this boys club, right? Whether it was the locker room or on the golf course, they were supporting each other. And I don't know if women were always innately doing that or knew how. And so I think for us, Playmakers is one of those tools that we can use here locally. Our goal is to expand, but really we wanted to do right by the city that we both live in. Emma's from here. I moved here 4 years ago, and we realized there are so many amazing women who work in sports and so many organizations that support women that work in sports, like Belmont, the Titans, the Preds, Vanderbilt. But they weren't all connected. They weren't all talking. And so for us, if we could create an ecosystem where those women could meet, could connect, networking is sometimes a dirty word, but for us, connection, like that's what we really wanted to do, was support young women that were just getting started and support those women that, like Emma and I, have 20 plus years experience, but wanted board opportunities, speaking opportunities. We wanted to give back and create a lasting impact. And through Playmakers, we've been able to do that.
You mentioned that, so you've been in Nashville for 4 years. Emma's obviously from there. The question I have is why Nashville? Obviously, the fact that you're both there is a big one. But talk to me a little bit about the growth of the sports ecosystem in the city. I feel like Nashville has just kind of boomed in the last few years when it comes to sports and opportunities to work in sports.
Absolutely. Nashville is, back on the list of the top 15 cities, sports cities, when it comes to sports business. And there's a reason for that. And it's because we've got professional NHL, NFL, MLS, right? We have AAA baseball. We are going to host the Super Bowl in 2030. But beyond that, we have Athletes Unlimited women's basketball. We have Upshot Nashville, which is coming in, another developmental league for women's basketball. We are growing, we are shaping, we are hosting incredible sports events. We had the CAA and SBJ World Congress of Sports here. We had front office sports, just talk about the future of sports for women. And we have Playmakers Nashville, sort of being that engine behind it all to support these amazing women and organizations that are here. And so for us, we see a burgeoning sports business city that can only grow from here. We want a WNBA team. We want an NWSL team. We want a PWHL team, right? Like that's the future of Nashville. That's what we want here. And that's what we see. And our hope is that we can create a strong, lasting ecosystem where women can find the careers and the opportunities that they want to stay and grow this city the way it can be.
I'm smiling as you're saying that because I have the same thoughts about St. Louis as you're talking about with Nashville, right? Like we want the WNBA team, we want the PWHL team, NWSL, like give us everything. It's such an exciting time for women's sports. And I think important to note too that, right, like this has been growing. We've known how great women's sports are and women in sports are for a long, long time. And the focus has just kind of finally shifted. So now that the spotlight is on all of those spaces. And so it's so much fun to see the growth, not just of those leagues and the opportunities that are coming for athletes, but new leagues and new teams and new franchises also means new opportunities for women who want to work in sports. And so we touched on a little bit about networking kind of being a dirty word, right? And I know some people love it, some people hate it, but I think the focus on connection and just building that community really is kind of the organic aspect of networking that people don't focus on because you want to talk about being able to use somebody else's, network or career to advance your own. That's the shady side. But community in general, and again, that connection is so important. Can you share a little bit about what does it look like to be a member of Playmakers Nashville? And I know you have a cohort model, which I would love for you to share a little bit about how that works, because you did mention not just for women who are already working in sports and maybe looking for a next opportunity, but for those who are interested in eventually working in sports post-degree that might just be in a sports management program like Belmont or at Vanderbilt or any of those right now. So would love to, again, have you share just what it looks like to be a member and share a little bit about that cohort model as well.
Absolutely. Emma and I were really intentional about building this and meeting women where they are. A lot of these types of organizations can be one size fits all, and we really didn't want that. We know that what we needed as young women is very different than what we need in our career now. So that's why we came up with the cohort model, and we hope to even expand on it as is. And so right now, if you join Playmakers, you can join our 3 cohorts, whether you're in college, that's our starter cohort. That's free for any women, an undergraduate or graduate college. You got your ID, your college ID, you can join for free and take advantage of all the benefits we have for that cohort. The captains is people just getting started to about 9 years. That's $149 to join. And then our champions is 10 plus years, and that's $249 to join. And the benefits for anyone that join us, right, is access to our incredible community. We have almost 300 members, and we just launched in February. So we're
Amazing.
really proud of that. And it's diverse members from those starter cohorts all the way up to those champions. So you'll be rubbing elbows with young women who are hungry and just getting started to those women that have established themselves in this sports industry and have been doing business for years. And so it's incredibly valuable. We have programming that supports growth directives of ours that are like these personal and professional development areas that you can just grow. And so you're going to see panels, you're going to see fireside chats with some incredible women in sports business. We just did one on financial literacy that I saw women in college writing down notes, and I was writing down notes alongside some other women, right? Like it's for everyone. You're going to have online professional development resources, scholarships. We just gave away 5 scholarships in year 1, $15,000 that went to young women in high school, all the way up to graduate school that are looking to study within sports, mentorship, and then philanthropy. We want to give back. Our biggest thing is the grassroots level is really where sports thrive and grow. And so being able to give back to this Nashville community is really important. And then job and internship opportunities. We've got internal newsletters that we support with all of our partners. We have 5 founding partners with the Tennessee Titans, the Predators, the Sounds, Vanderbilt, and Rebel Girls. We have impact partners with all sorts of amazing organizations that are all over Nashville, and community partners. And within those organizations, they share job opportunities, they share internship opportunities. And so for us, that's that flywheel, right? You become a member, and our hope is that you grow from that young level all the way to, a pro in business like us.
How are you working to kind of mold these spaces into something that feels both professional, like a space that if I'm a member of Playmakers Nashville, right, I can go and be in a space that feels like somewhere that I'm going to be able to advance my career, but also feels like it's going to help me out personally. The financial education piece is not just something that helps you obviously in your career. So what has been your focus or intent in shaping these spaces to feed both of those sides of somebody's life?
It's such a great question. We have put together a board of some of the most brilliant women in Nashville, in and around sports, that help us make these incredible decisions. And we have a committee that is dedicated to that personal and professional development. And really, we started polling women that needed this and started asking those really hard questions like, what do you need personally and what do you need professionally, and how do we deliver on that? And so for us, it came from research. It came from our own needs and from the needs of our community. And really, year 1 is going to be trial and error. And we have these exit surveys where women can tell us what's working, what were their takeaways, and what do they still need more of. And that's how we're going to learn and grow. And we're going to keep learning to support our community because we want to deliver value. At the end of the year, if you said that $149 or that $249 was the best money you ever spent, and you'd play twice as much, then we're doing our jobs, right? But for us, It's about fun, right? It all comes down to we work really hard and we deserve to play really hard. And so for us, making sure that our events feel really comfortable, that they feel authentic, that you can just show up, whether it's in your gear that you wore to work, your uniform, maybe you dress up for work, maybe you don't, but you can just show up and be your authentic self. That's super important. And that you have fun. You meet some new amazing people and you make those lasting connections. And if at the end of the day you have some great takeaways, that's important for us. But really, at the core, Playmakers is a safe space for really anyone that wants to show up and have a great community.
This is going to be a hot take. I think that fun and the element of fun is something that women's sports and women in sports are focused on. And I don't think we see it as much on the men's side, whether it's men's sports. And maybe that's because those leagues and structures have existed for so long that they become so much more business-like, and we're having an opportunity to kind of shape things, like build our own narrative around these things. But that's my hot take for Tuesday, is that fun is something that we're bringing to the game.
I love it so much. Do you know what it is? It's because so many of these women in leagues have had to bootstrap it, right? And they've had to pull these audiences up themselves. And to do that, you have to be so authentic, because people can smell when you're not. And I think fun is such a big part of that. Is what's going to make people come back is that FOMO, is creating a culture that people feel safe. They feel like, they're having a really good time, right? What's the word of the summer? I just keep hearing whimsy. It's like, if we can whimsy wax women's sports, right? Like we're doing it. We're doing the thing.
Yes, I love that. Whimsy Max women's sports. I'm going to add that to my to my list of things to focus on for the summer. So we talked a little bit about these the cohorts, the different kind of levels that you have, and being able to meet the women where they are. Would you share a little bit about some of the differences? Like, what are the ways that you're supporting college-aged women? What are the ways that you're supporting the captains, that kind of either entry or up to middle career folks? And then for the kind of veterans who are in there as well, what are different ways that you're shaping that professional development or education or opportunities for networking, even for each of those different cohort levels?
Yeah. It's not an easy job, and it's one that we shape every single day. And I'm so grateful that you're asking about it, because we have to be really intentional about it. But when it comes to those starters, those women in college, it's really about career exploration. It's about insider access. It's about career support, and building their network. And I think a lot of young women forget, they put their head down and they're hustling and they're like, I gotta take care of me and move your way through. And you forget that those women sitting next to you in school, at your job, those are the women that you need to take an uplift with you. But really what we found is a lot of these young women don't understand the breadth of the sports industry. And so really getting them to understand how wide the range is, right? From leagues to different teams to an agency versus a boutique, right? From different nonprofits to players associations, right? There's so many different ways you can work in sports. That we want them to have that education so they don't feel like they've got tunnel vision. And at the end of the day, how do they position themselves for success in this competitive field? And so we do that by actually going to these colleges and speaking. We do that by connecting into programs that are already at work, and also doing different types of career shadowing. We did an amazing program with the Nashville Predators, where they did a seminar for us where these women actually got to shadow in these different fields on a game day operation. And there is nothing like shadowing women and seeing that for yourself to really understand what that job feels like, what it looks like, and how it might be if you try it on. So that's really important to the starters. For the captains in the middle, now we're going deeper. We're diving deeper into the industry. We're taking a closer look at what that sports landscape is. We're trying to figure out your network, now how to be strategic about those relationship buildings, and working on starting our career advancement, maybe even pivoting, how to work on your personal branding. I think so many young women don't know how to position themselves for a promotion, don't know how to position themselves for a career pivot. And so that's some ways that we're working on. And then some of these young women want to work, start families. So how do you start a family within sports? How do you be a mom? How do you balance it? We know now you can't have it all. So what are some of those things that you're going to give up? And maybe if you've had a family, how do you get back into things? As a sports career, how do you reignite your career? So those are some areas we're looking at there. And then our champions cohort is such a precious cohort, right? When you have 10 plus years and you're an executive, right? That is all about career navigation. That is how to have a leadership presence, how to build that high level community, maybe even circle mentorship, and then access to different opportunities. Like we talked about, that impact, sitting on boards, speaking engagements. Those are those areas where we want these women to have a little bit more meat on the bone because they've seen and done a lot of it. And so we want to give them opportunities that they may not have elsewhere. And so that's sort of little ways in which we've curated some of our programming. But like I said, every single day we learn something different. And we find out ways to support these women, just by learning what's working and what's not.
I love the idea of helping women who are established in their careers to find these opportunities to serve on boards, to do keynote sessions or panels or whatever it is, just to help increase visibility, right? I think that's one of the biggest things that we've been missing throughout the course of, or maybe why some women get to a point and then they're kind of hitting a ceiling or they get stuck being able to advance to the next role, is just because of that lack of visibility. We talk about this idea, and I in my dissertation, I guess I talked about it, was this idea of critical mass, right? And so at what point do we have enough women in leadership roles, or at what point do we have enough women's sports leagues, or whatever it is? And I always go back to the Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote about, how many women should be serving on the Supreme Court. And she said 9. Like, why, if there can be all men, why wouldn't there be all women? That's so I think it's the same idea where we have to keep moving toward this critical mass where we have so much visibility that it just becomes the norm. So I love to hear that y'all are thinking about these things in really kind of unconventional ways, things that we haven't heard before in terms of professional development and just growth opportunities. It's great.
Yeah. And I think, for us, it does take thinking and reinventing things, right? I think this amazing young woman on our board named Shelby, who came up with this idea that mentorship, just pairing women, a young woman that wants a mentor, and a young woman that wants to, mentee someone, just pairing them up doesn't always work. So how do we flip that on its head? How do we change mentorship as a whole? And how do we try to figure some things out? So some of it is really just saying, hey, this doesn't always work. Let's try this. And maybe that doesn't work. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to attempt to support women in a number of different ways, and then learn from that, right? And have some R&D that we can go back to and say, yes, we sat this many people, or we did this, or, these are the ways in which we're building our programming in a way that suits what women need and what women want. And it's going to be trial and error. In some ways, we're gonna be successful. In other ways, we're going to learn and grow from it. But I think that we have to just keep taking these moonshots, because exactly what you said, the visibility is so important, right? That it might be that one time that little girl sees someone in a position and just finally sees herself and what she wants to do. And at the end of the day, that visibility matters.
Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned that y'all launched officially, I think it was National Girls and Women in Sports Day, beginning of February. We were originally going to talk in April, and so the numbers that I have are outdated. So I had, at that time, you were already up to either over or just close to 200 members. I heard you say you're now at 300 and beyond.
That's right.
What has surprised you the most about how women in Nashville have responded to this new opportunity?
Oh gosh, I think they're just showing up and showing out in such an amazing way. and encouraging one another. We were, watching the World Cup together, just, a few of us the other day. And while we were standing there, just some of our, young members were just reaching out to other women to introduce them to us to say that they needed to join. And it's that word of mouth. It's those amazing women that have just become walking billboards for us that allow other women to hear about us and get the word out, because we're stronger for it when we have more people supporting the initiative, that we can pour behind all sorts of different things that we want to do. And that means showing up for women's sports. That means showing up for new organizations. That means, when one of our, organizations is doing something important, that we're all there, kind of doubling down our efforts. And to do that, you need a village. And I think the fun thing for Emma and I is that we not only built the village, but we're villagers ourselves. And so we get the benefit of things like, I'm looking for a job right now, and I've got this amazing community surrounding me. And I never had that. I didn't have that the same way that I did in the other cities that I live, where people will just activate, the way that our community will, and support and surround women. And so you can see it at our events. You can see it. We do a thing called Off the Record, which is like a virtual chat we do every quarter on a Friday morning. And you'll have women ask a question, and all these different members will raise their hand and say, I want to support you. I want to do that. I want to show up. And that's my favorite part, is just the way that women are showing up for one another. From our first social event, we found out that there's a dinner club that people have been doing every month since then. There's groups that now go and watch sports together. And so it's these little byproducts of what we're building that prove how needed this was, because these young women have not only created and been a part of our membership, but are also forming their own little groups and friendships.
It's like their own, we talk about a coaching tree a lot, right? If you played sports, that your coach is the kind of initial route, and then hopefully other people will go on and lead and coach in different ways too. The same thing is happening, it sounds like, with what y'all have built, that they're taking the connections they're making and forming new, small groups and just more opportunities to connect and get to know each other. I love that.
Yeah, same.
Awesome.
It's been so impressive, because I also think then we demand more of this city, right? We say, well, then we want more places to do X or Y, right? And then we create those opportunities if they don't exist.
Yeah, the power of community. That's it 101.
That's right.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to ask one final question on Playmaker stuff here, and then we'll shift into kind of the final phase of the show. And I want to acknowledge Emma was here. She was going to join us and had some technical difficulties. So I'm bummed that we didn't get to hear from her as well. But thanks to you for carrying us through and sharing all these great things about Playmakers Nashville. So my final question on Playmakers Nashville specifically is, what does success look like for Playmakers Nashville moving forward? Whether it's 1 year from now, if it's 5 years from now, what can you share about plans for the future?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. And also, Emma sent an apology. She summed things off, so she is so devastated that she couldn't be here with us. But she's here in spirit, and she was the one that really set this all up. So
we'll have to do a 2.0 at some point with Emma. We'll get her back in here.
That's what Emma was encouraging. She was just encouraging the longevity of our conversation.
That's right.
So for us at Playmakers, for year one, success looks like delivering value to each and every one of our members. Like I said, that everyone feels like their investment, their time was worth it, period. End of sentence. If our members feel we delivered value, then we are successful. But we want more members, right? We want, by year one, we wanted over 300 paid members, and we're getting really close to that. And so that's an exciting goal for us. We want more partners. We want to dive into this community in a way where we can really deliver impact. And to do that, every nonprofit needs that revenue model that helps us become sustainable, so that we can hire the right positions, that we can grow our programming, that we can deliver more scholarships, that we can deliver more mentorship. And then that way we create this flywheel where we are supporting a successful sports business industry here in Nashville, and it's consistent, and that we get a women's Final Four and we get a men's Final Four and we get WNBA and we get all of these things that we want. But to do that, we need a really successful and thriving sports industry. And so for that means keeping women here in Nashville, keeping women employed within sports, and promoting at the highest level. And so that is our hope, that we help these women grow and move up. And so that's another area of success that we'll see, is when we're creating jobs, when women are getting those promotions, when our interns are securing these major jobs that we wish for them, that's where we'll see success. And then our hope is in 5 years that you'll see, Playmakers Dallas and Playmakers Chicago and, Playmakers Los Angeles, and that we'll be able to build this model and repeat it nationwide, because we hope that the work that we're doing here in Nashville can be transferred to other cities, but we want it to feel special to that city. And that's why we're building it here, and we're being really intentional behind the how. Nashville is Music City, but it's also becoming Sports City. And for us, if Playmakers can have an impact, a real lasting impact on not just the women, but the sports industry in and of itself, will have been successful.
I love it. What more could you say? What more could you want for the future of an organization? Right. Amazing. All right. Namesake of the show, I always ask, if you could get some hang time with any woman in sports, who would it be and why?
Oh, I've been wanting some. Alicia Clark is our hometown hero. She plays on AU. She's also obviously just did some baddie work at the CBA for the WNBA. We're hoping for some hometown hero hang time with Alicia Clark for sure.
I love that. We love to get somebody from the hometown, right? Awesome. All right. Where can listeners get involved? Where can they support? Where can they follow you and Emma, or Playmakers in general?
Oh, we love that. Well, first of all, you belong here, full stop. Anyone, whether you're in Nashville or beyond, there's a place for you. So follow us at playmakersnashville.org. We're on socials, playmakers.nashville. And then you can find Emma and I on our platform. You can see we've got some great posts as the founders, so you can learn more about us and our mission. That's important for us, is for you to know the why behind this. This community is not just for our members, but it's for us. And so it's truly important for us. But first things first, become a member, sign up, show up. We've got some events coming up. 7/16, 7/29, in August, September, right? There's so many ways in which you can get involved if you want to be a member, join a committee, volunteer. We would love to meet you. So come say hi.
All right, Erin. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And I'll give an honorary thank you to Emma for trying to be here as well. Yes, we'll have to come back and do a 2.0 some time from now and check back in for sure. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me and get some hang time today.
Thank you, Taylor. We love the work that you're doing. We're so grateful that you would support us in Playmakers and get the word out about what we're doing. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, we will see you back in a couple of weeks. Until then, you can follow along at HangTimeP0D or hangtimep0d.com. We'll see you next time.